Good afternoon. I see by my clock it is straight up 12 noon, and we'd like to welcome everybody to today's program, the ISU Extension and Outreach Dairy Team program. We'll kind of be sharing some information with Greg Pallas on the new tool from DRMS. Uh, Greg is the manager of support services at the complex at Iowa State University, and Decisive Dry is part of the DRMS HerdHQ, which is a web-based suite of products and is a tool that will help producers as they manage their dry cow animals. It uses selective dry cow therapy strategy, and we're kind of excited to learn more about it. As I always say, Greg, the podium is yours.
Well, thank you very much, Fred. Yeah, with the HerdHQ, it is, as Fred had mentioned, a suite of web-based products that producers who process their DHI records through DRMS can take advantage of. And also for those herds that use our DART, dairy management software program, it's an extra advantage because they can upload their daily backup to us, and then we will be using the more current data as opposed to just test day information. But the Decisive Dry is the initial tool that I want to talk about primarily. And so this is what we use for determining when you dry a cow off, whether or not you should implement the Selective Dry Cow Therapy program. So just to reiterate what the Selective Dry Cow Therapy is, trying to determine whether or not to use to dry treat a cow, so use antibiotics. So if you do use the Selective Dry Cow Therapy, that will lower your dry treatment costs, as well as reduce the use of antibiotic treatments. So we can use your test day information as herds process with us, or it can be more interactive, more current by using your last DART sync uploads. We can also drill down to another product that is part of HerdHQ, which is we call Cow Compass. And that actually just brings up more detailed information about the individual animals. So looking at the setup for our Decisive Dry program, so if you are a producer, your herd code would automatically be implemented on here. If you are a consultant, you would have to select as far as which herd you want to look at. You can also specify which strain you want to look at, and the data source is whether it's DART sync, more current information, or your test day data. In the mastitis events, so these are for herds that are using DART, then we can use your health codes that you specify within DART as you do treat any cows for mastitis. And then the maximum days since last mastitis just indicates, says, okay, if a cow had any of these mastitis events within the last, in this case, 60 days, we do not want her to be eligible for selective dry cow therapy. The next box is the herd maximum SCC. So this is what herd average SMEC cell count you want to use as far as whether or not to be considered for selective dry cow therapy. And then the COWS max is what do you want to use for a cutoff as to use for selective dry cow therapy. Quite often, the default we'll put in here is 200. That just indicates the A cow basically above that will not be eligible. A cow below that would be. The next section is what do you use for your dry period? How many days? And then also, do you want a list of just cows that need to be dried off in the next week, the next month, or how long of a time frame do you want this list of cows to show? The bottom section is what is the drug cost per cow? In other words, what does it cost you to actually treat a cow? We do obviously recommend that you still use a teat sealant, but what does that tube of dry treatment cost you? And then what is the additional labor involved to use that dry treatment? So if you're using a teat sealant, obviously you still have the labor for that, but what is the labor cost to order those dry treatments, to pull those drugs, to actually go through that process? So once you have this information into the system, it will save it, and then you just look at the data. So this is the results. Just gonna give you an idea as far as how many tests on the last month were reviewed. How many of those were above the values that we had set? We set 350. Number of cows below the maximum SCC. Number of cows you're going to be treating. What is your cost of treating those cows? And what is your savings of not treating those cows? So in order to be eligible for selective dry cow therapy, we are looking at the last 3 test days and also want to make sure based upon the cell count maximum that we set, and also we want to make sure there are no cows that are had a mastitis treatment health code recorded in the number of maximum days that you established. So this is a summary of the results. And then we start looking at the individual cows. So in this particular case, a red shading would indicate that the cow is not eligible for selective dry cow therapy. And we would also be shading the section as to why she's not eligible. The green cows are cows that are eligible for selective dry cow therapy. So in this particular case here, cow 582 is eligible. Cow 857 is not eligible because of her current cell count is above 200,000. Her previous test day cell count and her last 3 average is also above that. So they're not eligible because of that specific reason. So we can do a quick summary, or there was also a more involved, detailed approach for Decisive Dry. So in addition to that same information that we had listed here, we have some additional data that you may want to use for possibly culling. So these cows that are not eligible, we can also look and see what was their lactation average cell count. What was their previous lactation information? What was their projected milk values, or energy corrected milk, ME values? What is their production index? And if we do have any solid information, the total solids for last test can also be listed there. So you may want to decide, okay, we have a cow that she's not eligible for selective dry cow therapy. She's been had high cell counts the last 3 tests. Maybe her projection, she's only projected in this case, that cow 857 at 23,000. She's at our lower production index. In other words, she's at the lower portion of our herd. Maybe she's a good candidate to cull. Maybe instead of just drying her off, maybe we should just go ahead and cull the cow. So this is a two-phase report that you can list. And then if you do want to export the data to a CSV file to bring into some other program that you may have, you can go ahead and do that. So that's just kind of a quick overview. So now what I'm going to do is actually bring up the program. So here we have a default, but I'm going to go from scratch. I'm going to create a new one. So just to kind of take you back, this will go, so if you are on our website, the drms.org website, you initially log in. In the upper right-hand corner, you would see your login option. Once you've logged in, this is the screen you'll see. You would go to HerdHQ. And here are the different HerdHQ products that you can enroll in. If you are not already enrolled, it will tell you, it will take you to the subscription enrollment section. We're going to go directly down to DecisiveDry. And I've been in here and I've gotten several reports already set up for different herds. I'm going to create a new one. And I'm going to call this webinar. And I am going to look at this particular herd. I don't have strings on this herd, so I'm not going to do anything for the all cows. And I'm going to use my last DART sync data. And as we see, we automatically put some defaults in here. But over here now is where I would select my health codes or health conditions that this particular herd has. Each herd is set up a little bit differently. They may only have one mastitis event. And these are the actual ones for this herd. And so I'm going to go ahead and select all of the mastitis events. That this particular herd uses. So the next section here is, in order to be eligible for Selective Dry Cow Therapy, the default is 100 days. In other words, they can't have any of these health events in the last 100 days. This is my herd average I want to use. I can change that. This is the cell count average I want to use. I have a 60-day dry period. And I just want to look at those cows that need to be dried off in the next 7 days. Drug cost per cow, we're going to use 20, and we're going to leave that at 2. So then I'm going to go ahead and save this. So now it's saved, and I can look at the results. So my DART sync data is a little bit old, so I do get this message just letting us know that some of these cows may already be dried off, so maybe change. But this is the situation. So this particular herd has had 9 tests in the last 12 months. One of them was actually above the average that we've set at 250. But overall, the average is 197,000, so we're good. We've used 200 as our cutoff and health conditions in the last 100 days. So of these cows, I have got 20 cows that need to be treated and 67 cows that don't need to be treated. It's going to take $440 to treat those 20 cows based upon our setup as we have listed here, the 20 and the 2. and 67 cows do not need to be treated. And so we're going to save $1,474. So now let's look at these cows here. Okay, this first cow here, cow 8512. Currently, she's producing 90 pounds of milk. Her current sow count is 18. So really good cow here. Hasn't had any health events in the last 100 days. And so she is eligible. This is when we needed to have dried her off, and this is her due date. This cow here, her last sow count's over 1 million. Last 3 tests, 385,000. Okay, this cow here, yeah, so she's currently a little over 78 pounds. Cell count, last test is 3,200 or 3 million. Had a health event in the last 71 days. Her last 3 tests is nearly 3 million. So we can actually say, maybe we need to consider calling her. So if we click on her, it opens up a new web page as to what we call the her cow page. So here is this individual cow. Kind of tells some information, but maybe we want to look at the test day data and just see what does it trend. Okay, so she's been high pretty much her entire lactation. We can look at prior test days or lactations. So she's kind of had a cell count problem. We can look at the genetic information to see where she is genetically. Here's what her net merit is, her cell count. We can look at past lactations and all of her current lactation to see where she is at. It does show that, this lactation, was quite a bit less than her prior lactation. So she may be considered to be culled. So that may be an option. So this allows us to go back and forth and look at and what we call drill down to these cows. As we mentioned before, the detailed results. If we click on the detailed results, so here we can see some more information about her. Here we kind of indicate what her 305-day milk production is, energy corrected milk. Her production index, as we thought, was low, and it is. It is at 77, so she probably is a potential cull cow. So this would be the DecisiveDry protocol. If we do, let's say that you may be a herd that's struggling a little bit. So you may want to indicate that, you do want to use some selective dry cow therapy, but your average has been not the best lately. So you may want to decide that you want to use 300,000 as a cutoff. In other words, any cow below 300,000 instead for selective dry cow therapy. So now we have changed a little bit. So if we go back to our setup. So this is where you would say any cow below that is ineligible, and that's what we're seeing here. These numbers did change a little bit, not a whole lot. I think we've got one less cow that's eligible. But overall, this is not a a bad herd. So that's why their changes are. In retrospect, you may also want to decide that, your herd's been really clean, it's been really good for quite a while. Maybe you want to take a little bolder approach, save some more dollars. Maybe if you're looking at your cure rate over the past year of cows going from dry to when they fresh has been really good. Um, Maybe that could be because you're treating them, but you could be a little bit risky and change that to from 200 to 100, and then we see uh, that those changes have taken a little bit different approach. Um, I did add more cows into that situation. So. Any questions on the setup, on the protocol, on the program in general?
I think we're a small enough group. If somebody, rather than typing in the chat, if they just want to unmute themselves, they can go ahead and ask the questions direct.
So Greg, if a dairyman wanted to use this, but not the other portions in the uh, package, what's this cost?
So for the there's two different options for each of our Herd HQ, with the exception of Keeper Beef. It's $3 per month and 3 cents per cow, with a maximum of $25. So that's would be the cost of just a Decisive Dry. Um, but so depending upon herd size, but the whole entire Herd HQ bundle does have a max of $25. So if you do want to do those drill down and look at cow compass, so we strongly depend upon, if you have a small herd, you may decide that the $3.03 for just decide to dry is all you want. But if you have a larger herd or moderate size herd, 400 or 500 cows, take advantage of the whole bundle because your price is basically going to be the same whether you're using one product or all the Herd HQ products. And there's a lot of other, so if you are have a herd that's struggling with cell count, there's some Herd HQ products that can help you hone in as to where those problems may be. Um, whether it be in your fresh group, whether late lactation group, or whether it be your older cows, younger cows. So there's some other Herd HQ products that can help you with the cell count if you are determining that you do have a cell count problem, that Decisive Dry doesn't help you determine where that problem is, but Decisive Dry can help you save some uh, costs in antibiotics, drug treatment, as well as reducing the use of antibiotics, which has always been a real encouragement whenever possible.
Greg, you'd mentioned that this can be used together to identify root issues. You mentioned old cows, young cows. Can you walk us through how that relationship can be utilized?
So yeah, so that would be primarily if you're looking at if you're looking at a dairy depot. So I'm going to go ahead and I can pull up my cell count data. So these are just some what we call another Herd HQ product, which is Dairy Depot. And so you can create your own type of dashboards. And so on this particular one here, this is looking at infected rates to see if your percent infected happens to be your older cows, your fresh cows. So in this particular case, we're seeing a higher infection rate. Usually you would expect your lactation 1 cows to be your best cows. Um, um, Here we're seeing lactation 2 as far as our, we don't have any in that group, is where our better cows are. So start questioning is, why is there a higher infected rate on the lactation 1 cows than lactation 2? Obviously, the lactation 3 cows is quite often where you see most infections at. But that's just one graph that we can look at. There's always additional drill down graphs that you can look at in regards to cell count, cows infected over time frame. We can look at, this is just looking at previous and current cows, kind of a scatter graph. So this is what we call our hot sheet. And if you do want to drill down at all, you can always click on an animal. So here's a cow, 6 million. And if you do want to drill down on her, you can click on this and that will bring up her. And then you can see, was she high at the previous test as well. So Dairy Depot is an area that you can build your own dashboard, whether it be on cell count, repro, production, genetics, culling, whatever type of a dashboard you want to look at. So the other one would be milk metrics, and that is comparing your herd or a herd against whatever herd size area you want to look at, and there's the udder health. And so this is where you can see how you compare with other herds, and you can set alerts. Set alert for if you happen to be over 200,000 on this test. You can set an alert on your own. Shows you where you are compared to the group of animals or herds. We're looking at 850 herds that we process through DRMS. And that's just kind of breaks it down by similar to the data you see on herd summaries, lactation groups, days of milk, kind of the same information that we saw on dashboard. So just another HerdHQ product that allows you to find out more cell count information. Hot Sheet Pro is also another product that we can list, that we can show. A lot of people get this right after test day. And just shows you how many cows are chronic, new infections. So this just lists all the cows based upon whatever value that we set up. If you just want to look at the chronic cows, you can just look at the chronic cows. So just another HerdHQ product. Like I said, I would strongly suggest you get the entire bundle for $25 a month, and that allows you to take advantage of any of these HerdHQ products. Any other questions?
I'll go ahead and throw one out there. How often can the cost and expenses be changed as, tube change in price, and can we do that monthly, or how is?
You can run it as many times as you want and view it, change it, see what your effect are. Just like I went back and, changed this from 100 to 200. And that's it's very interactive. If you happen to get a deal on dry treatment, for this month, and you can say, I got it for $15 to treat a cow instead of 20. Easily go in there and change and see whether or not dry treating everybody is cost effective or not. Change it as often as you want.
Yeah. Anyone else have questions? Is this available if we have a different species? If we're milking goats, can it do the same thing?
Sure. Yep. Yeah, and that's where, if you're, it's going to use some defaults as 200,000. I think often goats will have a little higher cell count, so they may want to, change those levels.
Very good. I'd like to remind folks who are attending today, I've included this we're recording, and it will be archived and available there on our ISU Dairy Team website. And then we ask that you take a short survey. It's only 4 questions, but it helps us determine what we can do better as we look down the road at our next webinars.
Yeah, I know we didn't take the full hour, but I think that's one thing that you're seeing in Decisive Dry. Very easy and quick to set up, run it, and find out which cows you can treat and not have to take a whole lot of time in making that decision. And once you've got this set up, it's there for you to pull up all the time. You just need to go in and run it, and it will just pull in your last test day or your last DART sync data, whatever you have, and view the results. So even quicker once you've got it set up.
Very good. I'm not seeing any questions come through, either chat or anybody unmuting. So I take this opportunity to thank you, Greg, for walking us through this. These parts of our test day data and the program helps us manage better, and we appreciate you kind of bringing it to an understandable format for us. So thank you again. And I'd like to remind people that we have a monthly webinar from Iowa State, as well as from the MU University. On the 19th, we will have a webinar where we'll discuss some new information on metritis. So I'd like to invite everybody to register for that. Again, thank you very much, Greg. Thank folks for joining us, and we will close out this session.
Thank you.